We've been in a series, and I posted something on Facebook about this, that we did a series on love not that long ago, just a few weeks ago, and kind of getting you ready for the holidays. You know, you're like, oh, we're family, and then you get closer to it, and you're like, I'm going to be with family. And so we did a series on anger. I don't know if you guys have any trouble with that. If you have family, you probably have anger stuff going on. So we started the series and we talked about what anger is, and kind of dug into that, what it is and where it comes from, and that it's not really just in and of itself just something horrible, but it's how we use it that matters. And last week, Nick, anybody here when Nick spoke last week? Yes. Wasn't that awesome? He did a good job. Give him a hand. Yes. I like that Nick speak. It was nice. I was able to sit out there and just listen to a sermon, and it was really cool. It was neat, and I appreciate him. But he talked last week. He talked about the effects of unresolved anger. You know what that does to you, and what it does in your life, and everything that happens with that. And today we're going to be looking at how to use our anger. And so I got a video clip, and I was trying to find the right video clip. You know, you can use the Grinch, right? You know, there's a lot of different ones you can use. Looking at this anger stuff, but I thought I had a really appropriate video clip to use, looking at anger and its effects and what happens when you don't use it correctly. So we'll see if you guys recognize this one.
What's wrong, Annie?
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women. And the children, too. They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
What was that from? You know?
I know.
How many people here have seen the new Star Wars movie?
No, not yet.
I don't want to hear it.
Those of you that don't know about this, haven't seen that scene right there, I mean, there's something happened there. And who is that character? Who's he become?
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader, right? This is not revealing anything. These are from older movies. He becomes Darth Vader. He's on a path of darkness and anger. I thought, well, with Star Wars and everything going on, I thought that'd be really appropriate to play that clip. And I'll probably touch on that again in a little bit. But I know in my life, when I'm angry, my plans aren't always the best. You guys ever sit there and get the, oh yeah, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna do this and that, you know. And we don't always do the right thing out of our anger. We sometimes make some bad choices. And I was thinking of a couple things. I got all kinds of illustrations from my life, you know, but for once, I'm not going to use me. You know, Corbin, my son, he was up here playing the drums, flinging drumsticks. He didn't get angry either. He was telling me a story. His neighbor, somebody tried to break into his neighbor's house, and his neighbor's out there yelling and stuff. And he said his neighbor was just so mad, you know, he would come out every 5 minutes. He'd come out of his house and yell at the whole neighborhood. Did you see him? Anybody see him? Come on, somebody saw something. Just yell at the whole neighborhood, you know. And it's like, didn't know what to do with his anger. You ever done that? You ever been angry and just you make yourself look really ignorant?
Yeah.
You know, is it just me? There's just a couple of those, but I mean, just do it. You don't know what to do, and you make some bad choices, bad decisions, doing things that don't necessarily make sense. Like, why'd you do that? I was angry. I was very angry. And, you know, a lot of us, we get angry like that. We make bad choices, and we carry that anger for too long. You ever had that where you're just carrying that anger, just hanging on to it, nurturing it? You know, and you can see that with Anakin Skywalker, with Darth Vader. You know, he was just hanging on to that and just holding it. It creates roots of bitterness in your heart, and man, it's devastating. It's horrible. It tears you up. A lot of us, you know, we make those things worse. When you get angry and you make angry choices and angry decisions, you know, it'd be nice if some of those were just as bad as just going outside and yelling at your neighborhood. But sometimes we make those angry choices, angry decisions, and there are things we got to live with for years. And it's like, why'd you do that? What happened? And it's just a lot of that stuff happens. So we want to dig into that today a little bit about misusing your anger, about what happens when you don't use it right and how to use it right. We're going to cover some of this. I want to look in the Bible in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26. This is kind of our foundational verse that we're using for several of these messages. But today it says, and don't sin by letting anger control you. Don't let the sun go down while you're still angry. We talked about that last week a little bit too. But looking at this anger issue, our focus is in this verse. It's all about this. Don't trip into doing and behaving improperly because you let anger control you. Now again, like we talked about in the very first message, feeling angry, having anger in your life that's not just bad, it's not wrong. You know, a lot of times I think we try and make this standard that's so high that you wind up, nobody can really achieve it, so we all put masks on and pretend we're all right. Oh, I'm not mad. I don't get angry. I'm not that kind of, I'm a Christian. I don't do that. You know, it's like, well, apparently you lie, so. You know, we put those high standards and they're not real. And the Bible doesn't say you can't get angry. It just says, in your anger, don't sin. It says, don't let anger control you. Don't let that lead you down a path you don't want to go. And so we're looking at all this as well as don't let the sun go down, which is about resolve your anger quickly. And we're going to talk about that next week. And we're going to wrap up this series and we're going to kind of dig into more about how do you resolve your anger. We haven't really talked a whole lot about that. We'll do that more next week. But don't let the sun go down your anger. It's like, get this resolved. I mean, what good does it do to hang on to anger? I mean, anybody, you've ever feel good being angry? I've never felt good. I mean, there's times that you would think I must like it because, you know, I would get angry and hang on to it, but it's never made me feel good. Why would you hang on to it? So how do we resolve it? How do we do it quickly? We'll get into more of that next week. But I've got two different other passages I want to share with you. The first one's in Genesis chapter 49, verses 5 to 7. And this is a father on his deathbed putting his blessings out for all of his sons that are going to take over everything. This group of people he's built. There's hundreds and thousands of them. And he's putting his blessings out, his final words to his sons. And these words maybe aren't the best. Simeon and Levi are two of a kind. Their weapons are instruments of violence. May I never join in their meetings. May I never be a party to their plans. For in their anger they murdered men and they crippled oxen just for sport. A curse on their anger, for it is fierce. A curse on their wrath, for it's cruel. I will scatter them among the descendants of Jacob. I will disperse them throughout Israel. Can you imagine? This is his final words, and there's a bunch of these boys he's talking to, but these two in particular really got it. And you know, these final words to him, it's like your anger, it's a curse on that. It's just horrible. Things you've done in anger. And he's listing some of those things and saying, I'm done with you guys. You're not even going to get the inheritance. You're going to be spread out. You and your whole clan are going to be spread out all over. You don't get a land of your own. And just their choices that happened in anger led to this moment of being written off and losing their inheritance. Have you ever done anything stupid in your anger that had lasting consequences? You know, and I was thinking about this. I'm like, man, has that ever happened to us? And you look at our prison systems, they're full of people that made a bad choice, a bad decision. We work with all kinds of people here that have had struggles and have a past, have things that happened in their life. And so many times I'm talking to people, I'm like, man, that could have been me. I could have totally just one choice away, one little decision away, and that could have been me making a bad decision. There was a shooting down south recently, and it was they talked about this high school student. He actually dove over these three girls and actually took all the bullets that were flying around, and he wound up dying. It was just a 15-year-old kid. It was some gang-related anger, violence kind of shooting. It was stupid. And this kid lost his life saving some other lives, so that was kind of cool. But you look at these things that happen, just that one moment in anger. Oh, I've got a great plan. Are you angry? It might not be a good plan. You might want to talk to somebody, get a little bit of counsel, think that through, you know, those anger moments. And that's what you see here with Simeon and Levi. They've made these bad choices, and they're not only are they going to live with them the rest of their life, so are their kids. You think about that. The people that have gone to prison because of some stupid decision they made, and their family has to live with that. You know, the people that have had other things they've done in a moment of anger, and now not only they have to live with it, their spouse, their children, their family, they all have to deal with that. It goes on and on, it has those lasting consequences, things that happen. This is almost too heavy for Christmas, isn't it? This is the worst Christmas sermon I've ever heard. I'm not feeling good at all. Doug's going to come back up with some great music. He's going to bring you, I'm going to tear you down. Doug's going to bring you up. It's going to be great. If that don't work, Santa and Mrs. Claus will be in the back. You can go see them. They'll really be good. Man, this is heavy stuff. That's just where it came in. You guys, maybe you'll think about this. You go to your Christmas and you get all mad at one of your siblings. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Pastor Steve talked about that. Don't let it be like this. So we'll see how it goes. All right, Genesis chapter 4. Another passage I want to look at. And this is, it gets heavier, okay? We're going to go darker here in just a second. You ready? It says, when they grew up, Abel became a shepherd while Cain cultivated the ground. And when it was time for the harvest, Cain presented some of his crops as a gift to the Lord. Abel also brought a gift, the best portions of the firstborn lambs from his flock. The Lord accepted Abel and his gift, but he did not accept Cain and his gift. This made Cain very angry, and he looked dejected. Why are you so angry, the Lord asked Cain. Why do you look so dejected? You will be accepted if you do what is right. But if you refuse to do what is right, then watch out. Sin is crouching at the door, eager to control you, but you must subdue it and be its master. You guys know the story of Cain and Abel? It's kind of famous, right? It's I'm going to give you some little clues about what happened there in a second. But this is sibling rivalry taken too far. And you look at this, and you think about, we talked about in the very first message, we talked about what anger is, and we talked about how anger is a secondary emotion. That there's something else that happened first. You were sad, you were fearful, lonely, depressed. Something else happened in your life, and then it became anger. There was some other emotion first, and then the anger emotion came out. And you look at this, and what happened here with Cain and Abel, and you see they both brought gifts to God, and there were some standards God had given them. He says, these are the standards for the gifts. And Cain's like, well, I'm not giving you that, I'm going to give you this gift. And God said, I don't accept that. He said, I accept Abel's. Now, where did Cain's anger go? Anybody know? His brother, right? He was mad at his brother. What did his brother do? Brother did what he was supposed to. He didn't do what he was supposed to. If Cain had gone back and looked at, why are you angry? Well, that's one of the first things God asked him. He says, why are you so angry? You didn't do what you were supposed to. I told you what to do. Go fix it. Get over it. Why are you so angry? That's the question asked yourself. Why am I so angry? Are you really angry at the person you're angry at? Or are you scared? Are you hurt? Are you disappointed? Because there's something else that happened, and now you're turning to that anger and lashing out. And often, not even lashing out the person that caused it. You ever done that? You ever felt horrible because you just lashed out at somebody that it wasn't their fault? You know, stuff's been building up. You ever had that people just picking and stuff happening? And then it's that one last person, the straw that broke the camel's back. You know, you walk into work and they're like, good morning. There's nothing good about it. You know, you just blow up at them. They're like, oh, man. It really wasn't about that person, right? You ever had that happen? Is it just me?
Yes.
Yeah, once you're like, yeah, it's just you, Pastor. Wow. I'm getting cool. But anyway, look at it. You know, so Cain didn't do that. He didn't take God's advice. In the end, God told him, you've got to watch out. He says, sin's crouching at your door. He said, why are you so angry? What's going on there? And he warned him, and Cain didn't take that advice. And if you know the rest of the story, later on, he goes out and he murders his brother. You know, he hit him with a rock or something and killed him. And I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but that was the end result. I remember I was teaching some youth many years ago, more years than I want to tell you. It was a long time ago. And we had a recent newspaper story, and it happened here in the Flint area. There's these two brothers that would fight all the time. They'd get drunk and they'd fight. And they were fighting one time, and one brother hit the other brother. His head went back and hit something and killed him. Like that. Rest of his life, he has to live with that angry moment, that angry choice, and all the consequences of that. You know, and you look at the story of Cain and Abel, the same thing happened there. And so you look at this and you see that anger misused leads to bad decisions that you have to live with. And you go back to that Star Wars clip that had Anakin in there giving into his anger and making decisions that have far-reaching consequences. The stuff that happened in that storyline. I love that storyline and what happens there. And I'm not a Star Wars geek. Where's Nick? I'm pretty sure he's a Star Wars geek. You know, there's probably a few of you out there. You know, I'm not a big Star Wars geek, but it's a cool story. And what happened there and how he kept making bad choice after bad choice and the consequences that come from that. And sometimes we feel trapped by our decisions. You know, you did this bad thing, now you feel trapped to move this direction. And a lot of times you're moving in those directions just to justify what you did that you know you shouldn't have done. Is that getting too deep? No. So you start looking at this stuff like, man, I didn't want to think that hard. Merry Christmas, come on. You know, you dig into this and stuff happens. Unmanaged is going to take you places you don't want to go. It's going to cause you to make choices you don't want to live with. Man, I remember ever doing. I still cringe inside. I've told the story here before about blowing up at my little sister. I was like 17 years old, and I just started this Christian journey, and I'm trying to get things right, and then I blew up my sister. I felt like such an idiot. Like, you know, in the name of Christ, I'm an idiot. You know, and it was just like, I couldn't believe it. I still cringe at those things. And just the bad choices we make out of anger. And the stuff you got to live with. It takes you places you don't want to go, and you make choices you don't want to do. And the first question, so God asked Cain, and that was, was why. Why are you angry? And it's so important. I talked about this a second ago in the first message on this. Why are you angry? It's so important to dig into that. What's really going on? What's really happening there? I mean, that's where I spend a lot of time talking to people that are dealing with anger, is really trying to find the root of it. Sometimes the root is 20, 30 years ago. You know, sometimes it's something totally different. I remember the angriest I've ever been at my brother. I mean, the angriest. I was tempted to cause real physical harm to him. And I was going to do it sneaky, because he's way bigger than me. So I was going to get him from behind. I was so angry. It was because of a dream. And that was the only thing that kept me from jumping on his back. I was like, it was a dream, Steve, it was a dream. I woke up from this dream and I was so mad at him. I was like, this is great. Why are you angry? Dig into that. Dig in. Why are you angry? What is it? It could be as foolish as a dream. It could be whatever. Why are you angry though? And remember, that anger came from something else first. It was sad, disappointed, hurt. Whatever it was that happened to you. Your pride got pricked. You're like, somebody made you look kind of stupid. It's usually us, but sometimes it's somebody else, It did something. What is it? And then that led to the anger. What really is going on there? The second thing God said was how to resolve his anger. He said, in order to avoid those bad effects, he gave him a warning about what it would be and the effects that would happen. He's like, this is what's going to happen. If you give in to this, if you don't watch out, these are the things going to happen. The stuff Nick talked about last week. It's going to scar you. It's going to damage you. It's going to control you. You want to be controlled by that. You want those things to happen in your life, the direction you're going. If you don't watch out, he told Cain, if you don't watch out, it's crouching at your door. It's going to try to master you. You ever had that happen? I just keep thinking of the Incredible Hulk. You don't want to see me when I'm angry, and just out of control and just raging. It's crazy. And you see that road rage stuff. You read about the articles. You read stuff that happens. These people on the road, and what happened? It's like, the guy uses blinker. That's why you're going to prison? Because the guy didn't use his blinker. Are you serious? And you watch some of those things, and it's just those tipping points, those things that happen. The last thing God said was warning about letting anger control them, and that's what we're focusing on, is that not being controlled by that anger. The anger happens. It's not bad in and of itself. It does happen. It's we talked in the first message in the series about how it's like a check engine light. It's a warning. Something's not right. Check it out. Find out what it is. And I asked that how many people have a check engine light that comes on in their car right now. Like you drove in today, the check engine light was on right there. And, anybody here, you have that? I got that on several of my cars. It's on there. You ever take black tape and put it over so you don't see it anymore?
Oh no, that's crazy.
Yeah, I had a couple cars like that. I'm like, hey, everything's good. And they're like, what's this tape? And I peeled off the check engine light. I already bought it. Too late. Now I'm back. Now, so you had that warning. So today, will you listen to God's warning to Cain and not let anger control you? Will you listen to that and really think about that? Hang on to that. Examine yourself. Not be controlled by your anger. Not let that happen. Will you instead use anger as a prompt to examine what the underlying issue is? Especially when we go into these holidays. You go into these holidays, and sometimes we think it's going to be good. Sometimes we recognize this ain't going to be so good. You get angry at the holidays and the family gatherings, and you think about it so often. That is really going back to what they did last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You're thinking about, oh man, and you're just judging them, condemning them, you're letting that anger control you, you're just, all that stuff that's happening. So will you this holiday instead, will you use that when you feel angry to dig into it, to try to understand what's really going on, what really happened here? Rather than creating more regrets, will you focus on resolving the underlying issues that lead to your anger and dig into that? When we as a group, as a church, we start to learn to utilize our anger for self-evaluation. Man, just think about that. You get angry, instead of looking at whose fault it is, who you're going to be angry at, who you're going to blame, who you can lash out at. Instead of doing that, you get angry, the first thing you do is you go look in the mirror. Man, what would happen? If we started doing that, when we get angry, we get negative emotions, we start to actually look in the mirror and dig in and go, what's going on? What's really happening here? Why am I responding this way? And that's not to say you're never wrong. Even when you're truly wronged, that anger isn't going to fix it. Nope. But it is a warning. There's something's not right. Sometimes it takes a minute. You got to figure out, why am I so upset? It's because there's a piece of tape over that check engine light on the car I just bought, and they ripped me off. That's why I'm so angry. You know, you can dig into it, try to understand what's going on there, not denying that it's there. When we start to do that self-evaluation, what kind of a people do we become? What kind of a group do we become? We become a safe group, a place that we learn to master ourselves, to master our emotions, and we begin to abide in peace. Have you ever seen an angry mob? Does that look happy? Joyful? I mean, it's like, of course not. It doesn't look peaceful, right? It looks like a mess. Does it resolve anything? No, it doesn't. It doesn't really fix anything. You know, you look at that stuff, you can really see that. So in our own life, when we start digging into this, we start looking in the mirror, we start examining ourselves, imagine what will happen. Imagine the peace that will start to reign in our life when we don't let that control us. When we don't let that master us. We don't wind up making choices like Cain did. Wind up living lives that are full of devastation and destruction around us. That can be a powerful thing. When we start doing that, people will start to see us. And they do. They see us out there. When we're out in our daily life, people are watching. They're looking. And when they see something different, they want to know. Like, something's different about you. You know, and not that you put a mask on and pretend you never get angry. I saw you get angry. But I saw you deal with it and move forward. You know, it's like, how did you do that? What's that all about? And you can introduce them to your God, to your Creator, to your Savior, Jesus Christ, and say, He's changed me. He's given me strength to do something different. He's shown me things in His Word that's changed my life, and I have way more peace and joy in it. And I'm by far from perfect, but I'm still growing. And you can introduce them to that. It's a powerful way. The best sermon, you may have heard this before, the best sermon ever is not the one that's heard, it's the one that's seen. When people see us doing something different in our life. Just get heavy enough for you guys?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, man, this is like a heavy load. But you know, this is the path to freedom. When we start to take personal responsibility, we start to really dig deep, looking at ourselves and growing, letting Jesus work in our life. It is a powerful thing. And we become the church, the body of Christ. When we go out there and you think about that, if we're the body of Christ, we are the church, that means that we're Jesus to our community, right? If we're the body of Christ, we're His hands and feet. We're Jesus to our community. How well are we doing at that? Man, that's really getting deep. You just got to sing happy birthday to Jesus and be happier, right? When we start to get this, we start to master our anger, we will be a positive influence for peace in our communities, and we'll enjoy peace in our personal lives. And how can we possibly help other people that, you know, have all this stuff going on in life when we're mastered by anger, when we're not even under control ourselves, when we can't give a positive testimony about what's happening in our life because of how we mess up on things. So a challenge for you today, I want you guys to know the misuse of anger leads to sin. And what I want you to do, the challenge is let your anger trigger self-reflection. You get angry, that check engine light flashes. Look in the mirror. What's going on? You know, and often there's two parts of it. One is you have that primary emotion, and one is somebody else did something to you. Something happened. Sometimes anybody ever stub your toe? Isn't that like an instant anger button?
Oh, man,
I don't know what that's about. It's like, I just want to set the whole house on fire. It's like, just burn it to the ground. I'm done. I'm done with this. And I was like, you stubbed your toe. I know. I'm not happy. You know, luckily, I've learned not to give in to that anger and burn the house to the ground too many times. So, next week, we're going to focus on resolving our anger. But that's what I want you, the challenge for you guys, we're having this holiday season, when you get angry, look in the mirror, check yourself out, see what's going on, dig deep on that. I'm going to wrap up with prayer here in a second. The ushers are going to come, they're going to pass a basket. We do our offering as a part of our worship time because it really is, the church is completely sustained on our giving, on what we put in the basket, and that's just a huge act of trust. You think about that, I mean, how many of you people will just loan $50 to just anybody? Because I want to know, because I need $50. You know, I mean, money's kind of a big deal because it represents a lot of work in our life. We work hard for that. We do a lot of things to gain money, and that's a big act of trust when we go, you know what, God? I got X amount of dollars, you know, and I got a bigger X amount of bills, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. When you go, God, I trust you, and you give it to Him, that's a powerful thing. And so it is a part of our worship. If you're new here, if you're visiting here, don't feel obligated to put anything in the basket. This is for people that call the Bridge their spiritual home. This is how we sustain our ministries and everything we do. So I encourage you guys, just give according to God's will in that, and just stretch your faith and trust Him on that. And the band's going to be coming back up while I pray. So, you guys, I just appreciate you coming out. Let's pray. Father, we just thank you so much for your word to us today. Lord, as we head into this Christmas season, and Lord, I pray that you will make this a real time of celebration. And yes, Lord, we'll take this heavy message we've kind of been digging into and that we'll look at it and not let anger control us, and we'll dig into what's going on there. But also, Lord, that we will make this a real celebration of Jesus, of the great sacrifice that was made, that, Lord, you sent your son to become a human, and with all the encumbrances and the stubbed toes and the things that happen with that, Lord, just so that you could save us, reconnect us, help us to have that right relationship with you, to have that peace and joy in our life, to fulfill that destiny that you've called us to. Lord, I just thank you so much for what you're doing in our lives here, and I pray that you will bless this group of people powerfully. Lord, that we will go out this Christmas week, and that we will celebrate. We'll share the meaning of the season. We'll talk about what Jesus has done in our life, Lord, and that we'll be able to carry this out there and make a difference in people's lives. Lord, and I thank you for how prosperous you have made us. It's just ridiculous, even in our worst of times, how well we're taken care of, Lord. And I pray that you will meet the needs of those that are struggling more here, that have needs that they haven't found the answer to yet, that you will help each of us to